Alright, let's talk about an album called Impera by Swedish metal band Ghost, one of the grandest and most consistent metal bands of the past decade. It's been 4 years since their ominous and prescient 2018 effort Prequel, a project that saw the band taking a decidedly more straightforward path toward a mainstream hard rock sound. Essentially and definitively moving on from the heavier pseudo-satanic trajectory they seemed literally suited up for, Prequel marked a new era for Ghost, which alienated some of the more inflexible metal aficionados, but inspired other fans, including yours truly, to trust in their creative evolution. Enter 2022's Impera, a studied homage to the 80s and 90s hair metal that once used to dominate the rock and roll airwaves with its glossy production qualities and bombastic but melodious pop music tendencies. Frontman Tobias Forge, aka Papa Emeritus, his nameless ghouls, and producer Klaus Aulund have manufactured an ever more sleeker, slicker, and yet still cracking collection of songs that at once conjure up nostalgia for bands that range from the unexpected, like Van Halen, Bon Jovi, and Def Leppard, to the more on-brand influences like Metallica and Iron Maiden. Tobias revealed that he was heavily influenced by Timothy Parsons' The Rule of Empires, those who built them, those who endured them, and why they always fall, leading him to create the album's concept, where we perceive the rise and fall of a futuristic empire. The second track, Kaiserion, boldly calls upon the ghost of Dio, with its soaring falsetto yell, which gives way to a typically hard-riffing, floor-stomping piece of rock pomp that Tobias and company have long since perfected on their 2015 masterpiece, Meliora. The following track, Spillways, takes a full-bodied plunge into the aforementioned vintage hard rock rush strokes by incorporating a blistering piano motif that reminded me of Boston, and from there, the band never looks back. The two singles, Call Me Little Sunshine and Hunter's Moon, appear back-to-back and serve as a calming reminder to those on the fence fans who are still yearning for a return to the band's yesteryears. Track 6, Watcher in the Sky, is loaded with every metal music cliché in existence and tried my patience for the band's over-reliance on tried-and-true methods, but thankfully gave way to the album's most experimental song, 20s. With its Triumph March horns and requisite chugging guitars. The song is a schlocky nod to the so-called Roaring Twenties, but is set in modern times with lyrics that satirize Trump and his beleaguered administration. The second half of the album is serviceable enough with continued embrace of Guns N' Roses-esque cinematic flair, but there is an inevitable hitting of the wall in the garishness of it all, where the gloomy but sumptuous power ballad Darkness at the Heart of My Love succeeds as a sort of catharsis for the concept. The album sort of drifts along with the final couple of tracks in a bit of a disappointing haze of tired and lazy prog rock tropes. Still, Ghost is a band that you dismiss at your own risk. They are fronted by a tremendously learned student of rock, and one look at any of his interviews will prove his unbridled enthusiasm and reverence for the legends of the past.
And it's so fun because I could really hear James laughing when he came up with it. Is the like that's funny.
Ghost's critics point to the corniness inherent in a band that dresses like Party City part-timers on Halloween night as reason to overlook them, but that's the kind of critique that has sucked the fun out of the metal genre since Alice Cooper came roaring out of Detroit with his sinister eyeshadow in the 70s. Ultimately, I would have liked more experimentation on the last half of the album, but the result was infectiously catchy and struck me as yet another example of the band's ability to capture the essence of metal music without pigeonholing themselves. Ghost have delivered their best album yet, a culmination of years' worth of subtle steps toward riskier experimentation. Yes, I said subtle, despite the gaudy glitz of it all. Where the more stubborn of we metalheads might jettison any idea of this music's timelessness, I'm willing to bet that we'll look back on Ghost's journey as one of the most glorious in rock and roll. Gone are the days of Ghost's grittier and arguably darker sound, but the B-movie grindhouse spirit is still intact if you let yourself spun in their spooky spunkiness. Check out the numbers. This type of rock is once again dominating the airwaves. Impera gets a 9. A band that has the balls to use the word hoo-haws in their lyrics is 10 times more daring than any death metal band talking about hyperviolence in the name of Satan, out of 10.